And another one is, will Shane have a love interest?
Michelle, if you're listening. There's a lot of readers that are mature. I think Shane attracts them. I think his.
I mean, we spoke before.
Can't explain it really.
Yeah, they've all got their different sort of images.
Yeah.
Of him. I mean, I know you describe him in your books, and he's, you know, sort of got no hair and
6 foot, balding tattoo artist.
Yeah, so everybody's got their own image.
It's amazing how many girls like a bad boy, isn't it? Really,
Mm-hmm.
but he's not. He's a lovely character, and he's so caring, and he's so thoughtful, and he's always being the father figure. No, I would, if I was to choose out of all the characters, who would be the one I like, it would be Sam, no questions. When I write Sam, I giggle and go red, you know, I just feel so silly around Sam.
Now he makes you feel like a
yeah,
girl.
oh God, I'm like, oh, okay, I can do this.
And so how do you picture him in your...
Which one?
Sam, how do you picture
Sam is one of my friend's sons, which sounds really disturbing because he's only 9. But I've always said to her, you know, when he grows up, he's going to be stunning. And that's how I see him. There's this little boy, but as an adult with these dark brown eyes and this jet black hair and very olive coloured skin. You know, just somebody compared him to Taylor Lautner, and that's not too far off. But add 5 or 6 years on there.
Yeah.
There's another actor who I saw. He does the film. I think it's 10,000 BC, is it? Or wouldn't something like that.
No.
And his name's Stephen, and he looks very similar to him. But nobody ever looks exactly the same as the way I want them to, or as I see them in my own mind.
And I mean, how do you see Shane in your own mind?
He looks, and he's the only person I could say looks like a TV character, and he looks like Sandra Bullock's ex-husband, Jesse James. That's exactly how I see Shane, is Jesse James, which is bearable, you know.
You can put up with that.
Yeah, I can live with that one.
And so another question from one of your fans is, how do you think up the names of like the monsters, the aliens and things?
Yeah. I use fronts of lorries, menus, things that I hear, and I just mix them all up and match them. But I'm always careful that you can actually read them and pronounce them. I don't like reading sci-fi where you actually can't make any sense whatsoever. You just read it and you think, what is that? You know, most of them you can, like the Grindari, Chilemi, you know, Valongar. They're all words that you can actually pronounce, because learning from somebody like George Lucas, you know, if I say to the kids in the school, who wants to be a Jedi Knight? They all know what a Jedi is. It's not a real word. You know, who's a Padawan?
Who wouldn't want to be a Jedi Knight?
Yeah, exactly. You know, and he has a way of making names for things, and I don't know how he does it. I would like to speak to him about this, if that's possible. But he has a really amazing art, and J.K. Rowling did the same with the Quidditch and stuff like that. You know, the Muggles. It's just making a word easily pronounceable but different.
Yeah, I mean they're sort of words that are recognisable to anyone. I think even people that aren't fans of Harry Potter
would know what
you know a Muggle is and such like. It's almost as if they've become real words, and it's like you say.
I'm sure Jedi Knight must be in the dictionary by now, isn't it? Really? Yeah.
Considering we're in Waterstones, we ought to check. Really,
yeah, Medichlorian. You know, where does that come from? But we all know what it means, don't we? Okay, carry on.
So, and I want to talk to you a little bit more about Wendy.
Yeah.
Now, in the 13th, she was kind of always slightly in the background.
Yeah.
She always seemed very quiet.
Yeah.
Sort of a bit of a loner, if you will.
Yeah.
Why do you think it took so long for Val to kind of notice her? I mean, I know she kind of came into her own in the correct sort of timing, if you will. You know, when she needed to be there, she made herself known.
Yeah.
But why was she sort of always in the background? Was that sort of part of?
To me, there was a girl in my class when I was at school called Judith, and if you didn't see her, you wouldn't have known she was there. And she was one of these people that you would just avoid. You just avoided her because she didn't talk to people, she wasn't very involved. You know, it's just one of those strange things. And there was nothing wrong with her. I always imagined her going off and being a Microsoft girl, you know, and earning millions and living in America. But she was so very, very quiet, and you just have people like that in your life that you don't notice. And Wendy was very much like that in Val's life. She just wasn't, and Val would avoid her because she didn't like her. She just found her a bit feeble and a bit flimsy and a bit wimpy, which Val isn't, or not too bad anyway. So Wendy was, and the timing had to be perfect for Wendy as well. It had to be right. She didn't have to step in until Val got her powers. So she was just sort of in the background. She would have been there forever in the background, just learning her craft and doing what she needed to do. And I think Wendy has a story of her own, you know, a really great story of her own. And I love Wendy as a character. But yeah, it just happened at the right time. She was just in the background. And when I was writing book 2, and I said about Wendy, Wendy says something like, I was the girl that was always stood in the background when the birthday invitations were handed out. You know, and it just, there's always a child like that.
Yeah.
There is always that one child that seems to miss out on birthday invitations and being part of the group or being picked for sport. Or
I think that's what makes the characters so real, is that you can connect with them.
yeah,
and
I connect with Wendy. I felt for her in book 1. I just wanted to kick Val for not being her friend. You know, I wanted to be like, how dare you? How do you think you're so special? And I do have a go at her. Sam has a go at Val and says, you know, what a fool.
Yeah.
This girl's telling you everything and you're just blowing her out and you're just ignoring her. And so, and yeah, I suppose that in a way that makes them real, because I'm sort of saying, well, this is not how you should treat people.
Yeah.
Because in book 2, she becomes one of the most important characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, how dare you think that just because somebody doesn't stand out in a crowd that they're not worthy?
Yeah.
Or,
I mean, did you do a lot of research? I mean, because there's quite sort of in-depth stuff about the witchcraft and things like that. Did you do a lot of research?
I do research most of the stuff that I write. I've got lots of books on specific things, and I went to fencing classes to help me with the fencing. It was fantastic. And Florence, who's one of the girls who writes to me now on Facebook, I went back with the book and said, look, here's the book. I really did write it. Because they were all kids at the time, and they were like, writing a book, are you? Yeah, okay. So they taught me all about fencing. I'm a boxing instructor anyway, so I did the boxing side of things. Just getting
who
information.
Who helped you with sort of all the gadget stuff?
Jason helps me with the gadgets because he's ex-army.
Yeah.
And so I say to him, I want this particular gadget and I need to know what it would be made of. And in book 2, there's this thing that's made of, I can't even remember, tungsten alloy carbonite something. And he came back with this list going, yes, it must be made of this because it's going to be flexible and you'll be able to wrap it round. And I'm like, oh, yeah, gadgets, boys. So I know what I want as a gadget, and he'll tell me exactly how it should be made and how it should work.